Welcome back for another OG Show Live. Mr. Randall, how you doing?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Reel Down.
Welcome back to another episode of Bass Fishing for News.
Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to once again the Bass Kayak Advance.
Brother, this is the final cast.
Another segment of Chasing the Tide, your saltwater connection on the Paddle Pin.
Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Feather and Fur. Your host, Brad.
Welcome back to the Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Crystal.
Hey, welcome back to Off the Water.
Happy Susie Q here with Adventures of Outdoor Woman podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Rusty Hook Kayak Fishing Podcast.
We're brought to you by Pelican, built tough for all situations. Go to pelican.com. Eastport Marina on the beautiful shores of Dale Hollow Lake. For all your lodging, kayaking, go to eastport.info. Yak Gadget for all your fine kayak fishing accessory needs. Go to yakgadget.com. What's going on? Facebook Live, YouTube, boys and girls of the podcast platforms. Welcome back, Mr. Randall.
Mr. Schiller.
Well, we kind of hinted that we were doing this show last week. We didn't go into great detail. Why?
Yes. We provided a mystery, I suppose.
Jay's been out playing in the jungle and he got bit.
Yeah.
So, but we got Aaron Stiger in the house as well. He's been battling Lyme disease for 2 years, and we're gonna get some insight from him for sure. But yeah, important show, guys. You just never know, these little critters. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is probably something we should have done in the spring, but you know, the fact that it's relevant to you now, I think, obviously it's a good conversation to have. I know we've had it briefly before when we've had Aaron on and things like that, but
plus it's hunting season, right? Everybody's gonna start rolling in the woods if they're not already. Kind of like I was.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, grass is taller, right? You're dragging your kayaks in backwaters or off launches, and just getting out of the kayak to even just relieve yourself, so to speak, after a couple cups of coffee or something. Like, you just never know. So it's an important subject for sure. But you got anything?
I was gonna say, I feel like with Aaron, who's gonna come on in a second, or as I like to call him, Spreadsheet Stiger.
He hasn't been called that in a hot minute.
He hasn't, but he has I thought I was doing some research. I remember the conversation we had last time, but talking to him, in the right before the show, and man, he knows so much more. He's down to the details. So let's get him in here.
Milford's in the chat, and I was talking about relieving yourself from a couple cups of coffee, and Milford says, or relieve yourself during a podcast, fitting for the guest. Old Ryan had to run out in the middle of a show on Aaron.
Milford. Hey, Milford.
Oh, man. Funny stuff. Well, let's get the man of the hour in here, Mr. Aaron Stiger. Welcome back, sir.
Guys, how's it going? It's good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. Good to see you as always, man. Like me and Jay were saying, dude, you're looking fresh and clean. You look like you just got out of boot camp and you're ready to get shipped overseas, bro.
We're ready to go. I'm doing good. You alluded that I've been battling this Lyme stuff for a couple of years, and I have been. And that first year of it was the hardest year to kind of figure out how to treat it, what lifestyle changes I need to make in order to thrive and live day to day in a good, positive way. And it took about a year to figure that out. And after I started figuring that out, I started getting healthier, in a lot of ways, healthier than I was prior to getting Lyme disease. And it's because I've made lifestyle changes whether it's, sleep wise, trying to get more sleep, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise. Those are all things that I found that if I do those things wrong, it does not take very long for that, flare up to happen or anything like that. And, we kind of talked a little bit about that kind of pre-show, but yeah, no, I'm doing good. I really am doing well, and just managing symptoms and continuing to fight this fight that has been going on for a couple of years. So yeah.
Will it ever go away? Like,
so
is there a
the
chance that
integrative
it could?
specialist, yeah. So for some people, you never can fully eradicate it's called like a spirochete bacteria. It's like a corkscrew, and these bacteria, if you don't get rid of them right away, what they can do is they can, like, basically like a screw would, like you just drill a screw into a piece of wood. They do that into things like your cartilage, like in your knee. So like when I have attacks, like my right knee, it hurts. Like, and I mean, it hurts. Like it feels like I tore my ACL, but I know for sure that that's where those babies are kind of digging themselves into. And every now and then they'll kind of emerge and my knee starts hurting real bad and I can feel it. And it goes that way for a week or so. And, knock it down with some antibiotics and some other things. But, yeah. So anyway, those bacteria will thrive and live there indefinitely. My integrative specialist said that this is 2 years ago that I was seeing that eventually your symptoms just kind of, he just said, fade away over time. I don't believe that unless you make big time changes and recognize what works for your own body. And you have to do that because some people get literally crippled from Lyme disease, or their mind gets completely just wiped away from Lyme disease, just brain fog all the time. And when I say completely crippled, I mean like wheelchair ridden from Lyme disease, or some people get Lyme carditis where like it messes with their heart and they have to be on a pacemaker. Courtney Bennett, her mom had that, and her mom had Lyme disease and she got Lyme carditis and she was on a pacemaker and things like that, I believe. And so, she's in Tennessee there, Jay, like you are. And it's definitely present. It's interesting that, so my family doctor, he said that here in Ohio, Lyme disease just wasn't even a thing as of almost 5 years ago. But in the last year, I guess this was last year when I talked to him. So it's been the last few years, he's seen just an absolute spike in cases just here in Ohio. So Lyme typically was just in the Northeast. It was in your Rhode Island. It was very big in Rhode Island and Maryland and Maine and Delaware, like all those areas. And it's just slowly moved its way west. And it's right now, Jay, it's becoming more prevalent. Like you guys talked about, you wouldn't think you should have done the show in the spring, but the reality is Jay was kind of saying before that, you had these little poppy seed, like nymph ticks. Well, what happens is in the spring, you'll get all the big ticks on you. And that's what I had when I got them on me. They were very visible, but there was just so many, I missed some of them. Like there's dozens all over everything. Cause I'd walk through like a nest of them or something. And,
doesn't that just creep you out though? Like,
oh my gosh, it freaks me out now.
Everything is like different now.
Oh, it is. Every single thing is different. Like, yeah, it absolutely is. Yeah. And so but what happens, Jay, is those big ticks in the spring, they have babies, and the fall right now is almost a more dangerous time because those nymphs, you can't see them as easily. Like you might, they get in your hair, and how are you going to see it if you got dark or even light hair? You can't see it. And so those are the ones that typically will transmit Lyme disease, unfortunately, or Rocky Mountain spotted fever, all these different things that you can get from ticks. And so those nymph ticks they're the dangerous ones. They're just the size of a little bit bigger than a poppy seed.
Yeah, they're literally that small. I mean, there's no exaggeration when we say that. So you wouldn't even know. I mean, like I was telling Aaron, I thought I had dirt on me. So I'm like picking these little things. I'm like, oh, what is going on here? I'm like, I'm dirty, like, and I mean, I pulled probably about 7 or 8 off me that I know of. And that wasn't counting the other 2 I had on me that were bigger. Actually 3. So I mean, I had ticks on me. So I guess we'll just go into like where I was. Like, so basically,
let's go into your story, Jay.
I'm new in Tennessee, right? Deer season's coming up. September 24th is opening day. So I go up into the mountains and I'm just gonna hang some cameras. I didn't really go that far, like off the road. Getting out of the truck. I'm hunting on, like, I guess on rookie instinct in Tennessee, just to see how this is gonna work. But I saw deer and everything, so I'm hanging cameras. I got like 4 out there. Walked around a bit, just in the grass. I did go into some areas, but I didn't go super deep. And then I come home and I find a couple ticks on me, like right off the bat. And like actually one. I find like one adult, I guess, I forget what size, maybe a little bit below an adult. Get that one off me. And then the next day, I find all those little seed ticks on me. And I'm pulling probably 7 or 8 that like I said, that I know of that I pulled off of me. What was crazy is that it took the second day for me to realize what I was pulling off of me, because I noticed that one didn't come off as easy. And I was like, what's going on here? So I don't have a magnifying glass. So I took my phone and I magnified it and put it right where it was. And it was a freaking tick. I was like, dude, I've been pulling these things off me. Like there was dirt on me, and whatever. And now I did have like pants on, of course, socks, of course, boots, short sleeve shirt, hat. Cause where I'm from in Illinois, like you can get away with that. Sure. I mean, you'll be able to see one on you. I mean, Brian, we talked about this in Wisconsin. Okay. We're sitting on the ground. I mean, we're like everywhere that you think that ticks would be. I'm not saying they're not there because we know they're there, but it wasn't as prevalent. So I didn't spray down or nothing. I just went in there and ended up finding this. And then so anyway, going back to the story, then I find another one on the back of my leg that I'm sure was there over 2 days. Didn't even know it was there. It was still pretty small. Didn't feel it. But just by chance, and let me just tell you this, these things can get, I mean, this was on my inner thigh, so I didn't even know it was there, but these things can get in places that you wouldn't think they'd get, because I had one too in another spot that I'm not going to say, but not cool. I was like, what is going on here? So, so then afterwards, like, was it a few days down the road, I broke out in all these little bumps on the bottom of my leg. And so like tons of them. But they're just concentrated on the bottom. They've kind of spread like up my leg, but it's like, they're very sparse and they're just red. They don't look like that. But so from what I hear,
that's the picture you sent me.
Yeah. So the picture on YouTube anyway, there's so whoever's listening to the podcast, there's actually a picture of my leg with the bumps on it and stuff.
It almost looks like a bunch of like
chiggers, almost
like zits, almost that aren't like ready to be popped or something.
Yeah. And then right when you showed it to Brad thought it was poison ivy. Sure. But it doesn't follow like the same pattern. I guess it's the way it does to him, whatever.
Right.
But I wasn't around any poison ivy. I mean, like that I know of. And if I did, why don't I have it on my face and all that? Because I've been touching my legs like nonstop.
Sure.
And then it looks like chigger bites. But why do I have all the bumps up my leg and also on my chest and on my back? Again, they're more sparse on the upper part of my body, but they were very concentrated, and they're still there at the bottom of my leg. And I think that picture is probably when they're the most pronounced or getting close to it. So they've receded a bit, but it's like, I don't know what this is. I've never had this reaction ever, but I do know I had a bunch of ticks on me. So, but the locals say that's what the sea ticks do to you. So, and I mean, the guy my next door neighbor is a hunter, and he's like, oh yeah, he's like, just, he told me what to do, and of course that's very just topical. Just like rubbing alcohol or like the highest amount or concentrate that you can. Take a nice shower, nice bath, scrub every part of your body. But yeah, I guess what everybody does around here is, and I'm finding out again, just being naive in some aspects, people like literally get into their garage and they strip down like almost naked and then go into their house and, then, do whatever. Of course, they probably inspect themselves before they walk in the house, but they walk in the house, go take a shower, clean up real quick, get different clothes. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I don't know what my outcome is. Doctor said to wait to take the blood test, but I got Aaron telling me, no, go get a second opinion so you can get on something so this doesn't set in. So that's where I'm at. And it's a little scary. I don't like it, But
well, it should be scary, right? Like, it's something you shouldn't necessarily neglect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that was a conversation you and I had when you first called me and you said, I found this tick on me. And then actually when I was on the phone with you, you're like, I'll call you back. And you hung up the phone.
It's true.
And that's when you found the one on your leg.
Yeah. The inner part of my thigh. Yeah. That little one. Because I was like, I was like, wait a second. I was like, no, dude. I was like, I checked myself, and you know what? That like when you used to say this, like more of a comical, part of it is, can you imagine asking your wife to like pretty much look at your butthole? Because now you don't know where these things are, but you just got bit, but you had to have her pull this thing out because I had no leverage. I couldn't see it. And this thing was buried.
Sure.
And haha in that part, but it was like, at a crappy cost, potentially.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. Like, ticks are prone to go into, dark places, so to speak, like Aaron said, I've heard many times, like people having them in their hair. Like, for instance, like, we're talking about deer hunting. Like I've shot a few deer where it's like, you go to field dress it and it's like, you just see them crawling all over that deer in the hide. And you got to kind of pick them off and, get them away from you, obviously, and that's a common deer tick, but that could still carry Lyme disease, along with, like I got the CDC website pulled up too. And it's like, it's not just Lyme disease. Like there's a whole slew of stuff that these little things can carry. And that's just it too. Like I remember as a kid, I think we were like getting ready to go to the beach or something. And, I took my shirt off and my buddy's like, dude, you got a tick in your back. And I started freaking out, and I saw it in the mirror and, his mom actually took a needle, heated up the tip and like poked it right behind the head. And that's supposed to get them to back out. At least that's what they used to say. I don't know if that's still true. I mean, I've done it before on other friends and it's worked, but when you get a tick bite, that's what they do is they kind of bury their head under your skin. Right. And they're trying to burrow into your skin. If I'm not mistaken. I mean, Aaron, you might know more about that than I, but
yeah. And you gotta be real careful about taking them out just because you could leave
the head in there.
Yeah. Well, their mouthpieces are what really falls out. And that's where the head, of course, they're attached to the head, but you have to be super delicate. Like that's why you got to pull slow and methodical. Yeah. But like I've heard petroleum jelly is really good to start with because it suffocates them and then they kind of start backing out. Well, we didn't do that, but I was more in panic mode.
Yeah.
It's like I've never been so. It's weird the psychological aspect of this because now I'm like freaked out. Like, again, this is my own fault for not using permethrin, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just have this different look now at the woods, and I don't. It scares me a little bit, and even though you might use like everything, that doesn't guarantee you're not going to get bit still. But like it's really put a psychological like level of doubt in me now to where there's like a lot of apprehension about even venturing into the woods, which I hate, because that feeling's kind of winning right now, even though I've been, I got to go out and check those cameras and we're going to start soon. So now like, again, I'm just freaked out, it's
Sure.
I really hope I haven't gotten anything, because there's like 4 different things you can get, so, because Lyme disease is the most famous, but there's the alpha gal syndrome, which is basically the one you get from the Lone Star tick, where you have the allergic reaction to red meat. And I've heard it actually extends to pork. There's a few animals that will affect, and it affects everybody different.
There's a few. So I got the CDC website up, and there's the Rocky Mountain spotted fever, see, I'm horrible at this. Tularemia.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Acrolycosis. There's a couple osises. Let's call
is there Babesiosis or Babesia?
Yes.
Babiosis.
Yeah. Babiosis.
Yeah.
Anaplasmosis. Ehrlichiosis, and tularemia.
Yeah.
And
the
spotted, Lyme disease and the spotted fever.
Yeah. So I mean, there's like, so deer ticks are the biggest one, and those deer ticks are it's kind of a broad term, because depending on what region you're in, like here it's black leg ticks. That's what they call a deer tick. But you also got the American dog tick. That one's the one that carries a few of them.
I don't think you can get Lyme from the dog tick though, right?
No, okay. It's not. No, that one can actually give you. God, I wish I could say this word. Hooked on phonics, help me. What is it? No, I'm Earl. Jesus, I can't do it. It's so, but Brian, if you put up that word, everyone can see it.
This one right here.
Yeah,
right?
That's the one. I can't say it.
Ehrlichiosis?
Is that how you say that? Like my mouth does not want to do that.
So on these maps, each dot represents a case for that specific one. So this is the ehrlichiosis here. So you can see it's kind of prevalent in that southern part of the Midwest, like Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Tennessee, Kentucky, and then that whole eastern seaboard. And then here, this purple one is for Lyme disease. And you could see like the whole Northeast is just purple.
Oh, yeah.
And then around like Chicago up to Milwaukee into Madison, that's pretty bad. And then up around Minnesota, like the cities, the Twin Cities is pretty bad there too.
It's interesting too, like for how bad it is up there. When you think about the climates that exist in the Northeast, and for most ticks, they thrive in high humidity locations.
Right.
So like you got to think like why is that, like why is it that prevalent?
Probably a lot of swamps up that way. I don't know. Water.
It's like there's a lot of woods and stuff, but I mean it's just weird because the temperature is way colder. With the harsh winters.
How ticks operate, so they'll sit on grass, like long grass is where you're gonna get exposed to them most of the time. They sit with their little arms up and their little I don't know what, just their sticky little hands basically. And just if you go by and you're walking by in long grass, that's when you're going to get it. So, possibly, you got the high humidity stuff down in Florida and this, that, and the other, and you've got, some of the deep South. And I don't know tons about those areas, but maybe people aren't walking around quite as much in open fields and just things that maybe there's not acres and acres of grass like there is up in Wisconsin and Illinois and Ohio. And I don't know, like maybe is it, I have no idea, but I don't know why ticks would be more relevant in the Northeast.
Well, it's not so much that, it's just how much Lyme disease has spread. Again, the harsh winters, like the weather is way different up north than it is here.
Sure.
Like you guys are going to be a lot colder before I will here.
Yeah, thanks for a reminder. Appreciate that.
I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, it's September. I mean,
feels good right now though.
Yeah, snow's going to be touching that porch in about like 2.5 months.
Right.
I mean, it's pretty likely. Here, not so much. It might.
I
snow
hope
a
you
little
get
bit.
a foot of snow this year.
I don't even care if we do. You know that. The northerner will never die. I love snow. But I mean, but you know what though? I mean, there's like an area up in Illinois, Mazonia. There's a bunch of lakes over there. I remember one year I went there with it was in the spring. I went there with my kids. They have all these prairie lands. It's all preserved. They'll mow it. Right. And I mean, it's like standard mowing, probably like 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches of blades or grass, And I remember one time we walked into the woods. This is when they were small. I was literally watching deer ticks jump on our feet. Like it was so crazy that we were walking in cut grass. And it was like, it was bad. And we got there and I stopped and I just looked at the boys and I was like, hey, we're going to run back to the truck. I was like, but we're going to like sprint. And they were like, really? Why? I'm like, I'll talk to you when we get to the car or the truck.
Go.
I was like, just run. So we sprinted back to the truck. I mean, sounds crazy, right? We got back to the truck. I had them take off all their clothes except for of course their underwear, stripping them down. I pulled off between the three of us, like 19 ticks. That was a short walk. We were there like 10 minutes, and these were full grown, these were deer ticks to a T. And we got them all off. I mean, I found they had Velcro shoes. These little things got in between the Velcro.
Oh, yeah.
And they climbed underneath the tongue in the little areas. Like I had to like turn everything inside out. And none of us got bit because obviously we caught it really quick. And then, so then I see my buddy Keith like come crawling out of the grass. I didn't even know he was there, and he's like, hey man, he's like, hey Jay. And I'm like, what's up, dude? I was like, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, I'm fishing. He's like, I'm pond hopping. I'm like, dude, there are ticks out here like crazy, and then he goes, oh, he's like, there's one on the back of your seat right now. Like literally there was one crawling up the back of the seat. So we still didn't get one. You know what I mean? But it was like crazy, and the kids, what that did to them did a it scared them. Like psychologically, they were scared of ticks for a long time.
Sure.
I mean, they didn't like want to screw with grass, at all.
Well, you brought up a point I know we wanted to hit on tonight. We talked about, folks changing clothes and stuff, either out in the field at the boat ramp or something, or at a river takeout or whatever. But like, that's the thing too, right? Is you want to check because you don't want those things to get in your truck. Because I've seen it before where, you get in, one's on your shirt or something, and then it's crawling around on your seat, and you come back in your truck the next day or the day after, and next thing you know, you find a tick crawling around on you. So that's something to be conscious of, and always check that you're not, bringing those things into your vehicle or your house. Because like you had that instance, Jay, right, where you brought some into the house, you thought, and
I did some research on it too, like as far as that went. And as soon as I as soon as I knew it, I stripped the bed, I took a bunch of the clothes. I mean, I laid my pants on other clothes. I'm a total dope. So then I grabbed all that stuff, took it down, washed it. Also the sleeping bag. I took the sleeping bag out of the other room and got rid of that, washed it. But I learned that ticks can really only live. I mean, obviously they live for a little bit, right? But they'll dry out if they don't have a host, and especially if they're not in a humid environment. And when we talk about humidity, they thrive in like 85%, 90% humidity. But if they're in a house and the air conditioned, now I know there's places that are infested with ticks. So I'm not saying this is like, a fact for everywhere in the country.
Sure.
But in most cases with air conditioning, it's too dry in the house. There's not enough humidity. They won't thrive. And again, without a host, which is, to drink blood, they can't live. Now, there are instances that I've read about that there are houses that are like infested with ticks, but that has to do from other stuff. There are other reasons for that. I don't have that kind of house. Like this, this is a decent house. You've been here, Brian. It's like this would not be a kind of house that would be infested with ticks, But yes, I brought them in the house and I thought about that, but I did about all I could do. And we got 2 cats here. So, and I was checking the cats, and I it's funny, and I guess we'll talk about it now. My dad gave me permethrin a long time ago because he was an amateur photographer. He'd always go in the woods down there in Des Plaines, Illinois, down there in Wilmington, Illinois, by the Des Plaines conservation area. The deer tick population is horrible. And so he already knew that. So I got these 2 brand new ones in plastic. I had them packed away still. I don't know where they are. Didn't even think about it. The minute I found out about any of this stuff, I went to Walmart, spent like $60 on Sawyer products. There's a free plug for them. And got like a ton of permethrin. I sprayed the beds. I sprayed around the floor, in the carpet and stuff, just in case. All my shoes, my boots, my seat in my truck are actually anything that had fabric that would come in contact with, with our skin. Pants, jackets, I'm not even done yet. Like I'm going ham on everything with permethrin. Except your underwear and stuff. Don't do that. That's bad. But, in permethrin, if anybody knows, like this is it's funny because I still think I'm such a dope because we both have known about this for years and years and years. It pretty much kills ticks on like within a minute or 2 of them being exposed to it and other insects. But and actually the hunting public has a really good video on it where they go into the woods with and not even really in the woods. I think it was like on property. It wasn't even deep.
Yeah, he was on they were just at their, I think one of their houses or something, and they sprayed down like a painter's white coverall suit with it, and the reason why they did that is because it was white, and they went out in the woods and found some ticks and let them crawl onto that suit to show. And because that suit was white, it made the ticks show up much more prevalent in the camera.
Oh yeah, and like side note too. My phone's started pretty loud. Side note is that like so permethrin. I learned that there's kind of a hack for it where you can go buy the pure, the pure amount of it from Tractor Supply or something, and then you can make your own at home. Where you don't have to keep going to. So Mike Ernst actually told me that. So he guess what he does. He mixes his own. He's been doing it for years, and he has alpha gal, I guess. So he said that every time he gets a tick bite, it kicks up again, like pretty hard. So for him, I didn't know what the variation for him is, like how bad it is, because again, it can be horrible for some people, and it can be very mild, and it's not all meat like it. So again, red meat like beef, but not to deer. But what is it, pork, and there was something else, but again, it's different for everybody else. But yeah, anyway, he was telling me that he mixes his own. He saves a lot of money doing it. So I might go that route, start doing that. So I just always have it on hand instead of having to, I mean, granted, I know Aaron's heard about this stuff. I mean, everybody raves about Sawyer products, permethrin. It's like some of the best stuff out there.
Yeah, I picked some up like shortly after we talked because I'm like, man, I need to just be smart and not be put in the position that you two have been put in, and just do that preventative, quote unquote, maintenance, so to speak, to help protect me when I'm out in the woods, especially early season, like I don't worry about it as much when it's, end in November, beginning of December, and the temps are in like the 30s, you know what I mean? But, right now, I mean, like, is it this weekend? No, it's the following weekend. Deer season opens up in Wisconsin, October 1st, it opens up in Illinois. And it seems like the past couple of years, like it's been super hot, humid beginning of October. Here in the Midwest, the past few years, it's just been super warm, and then it's like all of a sudden we just go straight from summer to winter, sometime in the end of October. But
I sit there and I just cringe now about all the places that we have just sat.
Sure.
And man, just gotten away with it. I mean, I've had ticks on me before, I mean, again, I don't know if I even have anything. Obviously, I have some kind of reaction going on, but
sure.
But I mean, yeah, it's crazy, like all the places that we have just plopped down, and nothing, So it's a little bit of, I guess, naiveness and arrogance,
Sure.
You're just like, won't happen to me.
Well, I dropped in the comments that link to the Hunting Publix video with the permethrin, cool. And those of you listening on the podcast platforms will drop it in the show notes. You guys can go check that out. It's a quick, I think, what is it? I got it pulled up here.
Yeah, those guys are they're. I mean, if you've never heard of these guys,
a 10-minute video.
Yeah.
So if
you've never heard of these guys, if you're a hunter, watch them.
Even fishermen. Yeah.
Yeah, true. I mean, they do a lot of stuff, and we've never met them. They seem like amazing guys.
Zach was one of my students, actually. Yeah, he was one of my.
What?
Yeah, Zach Barenball. Yeah,
hook it up, Aaron.
Yeah, he was one of my students. I could. I mean.
Yeah, I would love to talk to him and some of the guys.
He's a great kid.
Well, we're gonna have to talk after the show.
Yeah. No, I mean, but they put out a lot of good content, a lot of informative stuff. And ticks, they've done 2, I think, in the back-to-back years. One more about the ticks, and then they touched on it this year again, and then showed that video that Brian's talking about.
Yeah. So let's Aaron, like, why don't you run us through a timeline, like when you got bit to when you started having symptoms to, oh crap, now I have Lyme disease, and then like what you've kind of done to remedy that, because you were and you had mentioned, you'll have these little spouts or flare ups, and kind of what you're doing to manage it and things like that.
Yeah, so the first thing I think everybody should know is that it's different for everybody. So some people might get bit by a tick, and then they might have something that maybe compromises their immune system for one reason or another. They might get overly stressed, and then that allows the bacteria that's been in their body from those ticks, from that tick bite and the Lyme, to actually then manifest itself. So it could be 2 years down the road or 10 years down the road for some people. But mine was pretty acute right away. So I remember I got bit. I was fishing like a local area, and I was dragging my kayak through some deep grass and things like that. And I just caught like a huge, like a 22.5-inch largemouth. For around here is a great largemouth. And I remember posting on Facebook. It was just when the pandemic started. And so everybody was off work, and I was like, off work, and no one knew what was going on. But so I went fishing, and like after I was done with online school or whatever that day, and got ticks all over me. I took my kids, and luckily somehow they didn't have anything. They got their blood tested and stuff, and luckily they didn't. But so that was like I think it was a Wednesday or Thursday. And I mean, by Friday, I was starting to see blotches and spots. I mean, it was quick. And I called the doctor. I just remember it was before the weekend, and I was like, hey, I know this sounds kind of silly, but I think I probably got bit by a tick, and I'm starting to have a few symptoms here and there. And they were like, wait, what? And immediately they said, okay, let's get you on 10 days of this antibiotic called doxycycline that is typically used for Lyme disease. Well, that didn't do anything for me. It literally didn't do anything. Because for whatever reason, I'm on a different antibiotic now that actually does work for me. But that doxycycline for me didn't work. And so, it was like 5 or 6 days later, just at the beginning of that next week, I called back immediately on Monday, and I was like, look, nothing's changed over the weekend and my vision's getting bad. So I went over to my optometrist, and she said, okay, here's the thing. That oral antibiotic's not going to do anything for you because it's crossed your blood-brain barrier. And so what's happening, quite literally, she looked at my eyes, and my optic nerve was swollen already. And she's like, those things have made their home in the back of your eyes, basically. And so she said the only way to get rid of this stuff is to go get a PICC line and have IV antibiotics for however long an integrated specialist says is appropriate. So I go and see an integrated specialist immediately after that, the next day. So this is all within a week, basically. And then I'm up in the hospital getting a little PICC line, and I had to have this thing hanging out of my arm for 30 days and carrying around basically a saline bag, but it's full of antibiotic. And not full of antibiotic, but there's a little bit of antibiotic in that saline. And doing that a couple times a day for 30 days, and it was insane. I mean, I still have the little thing right there is where that PICC line was. And that was 30 bad days because I was just completely dizzy. I was having chills all the time. My joints hurt. I had terrible headaches. They just totally tore me up. That Lyme just tore me up so fast. So then after that 30 days, they put me on some steroid to try to get the inflammation down, because there's still inflammation there. So they put me on some steroid. It was just prednisone, pretty standard steroid. And then that didn't really do a whole lot either. And I kept bouncing around. I went and saw ophthalmologist at Ohio State and just all these different places. It was a whole saga for the entire summer, because this was right at the beginning of June when this happened, right at the end of May, beginning of June when all this was taking place. And so this whole summer I was just on all these different antibiotics and different types of antibiotics. And I just remember before I went back to school, I was I was not well. That August, I still was not well yet. And I still went back to school, and I was I can't let this mess with me. And so, I did it, and still it wasn't great for another probably 6 months or so. And then I figured out, I found, I don't know if I can share my screen. There's a little thing that says share. Can I?
Yeah, you should be able to share something there.
Okay, let me see if I can. Okay, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay. Yeah, we'll share this one.
He's pulling up the spreadsheet, folks.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Okay, can you guys see my screen now? Or
here, let me.
Oh, here we go.
Whoa.
Well,
you got eight screens in a.
There
okay, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, so I found there's a guy down the street, actually. He goes to my church, and he said, he's like, oh yeah, I had Lyme. 10 years ago, and he actually got laid off from his job because he couldn't do his job anymore. He's like, check out this Unlocking Lyme from Bill Rawls. And it's all about Lyme disease. I get this doctor basically had Lyme disease, and it messed him up for like 10 years. And what happened was he basically made it his life mission to like figure out how to solve like chronic Lyme disease, because once you get past that first like 10 to 15 days, like that's that critical period of time. That's what we're talking about, Jay, like to like knock it out before it manifests itself and just finds a house in your body basically. So like he basically figured out like herbal solutions paired with like an antibiotic solution is such a good 1-2 combination. And so what he basically said is these spirochete bacteria, like I said, they kind of drill in to your like cartilage and any non-vascular area that they can. I mean, they love feeding on like your brain and your muscles and like all the good juicy parts of you and your blood and everything else. But they live when they're not doing that in the non-vascular parts. And so what happens is this herbal treatment, it's called the Restore Kit. And I'm not trying to sell this. I don't care if anybody gets it or not, but there's like 4 different things that this thing basically does. And there's like 100 different types of herbs that are within all of the different, or I guess, 50 different herbs is what it says within this different plan. And so what I do what I started doing like that fall/winter was you take 3 of each of these in the morning and you take 3 again in the evening. So I was taking it was like 24 pills or something like that a day. Jesus. Now I still take 12 of these a day, plus some other different herbal things as well, along with antibiotics. And this is 2 years later, but 100%, like I feel, I was telling you guys, like just it's changing my lifestyle a little bit, trying to get more sleep. Even with kids, like, still trying to go to bed earlier than I used to go to bed, trying to eat better, and then exercising. Like I get up every day and I exercise for a half hour. Like I make myself get up before I go to work and exercise. And what all that does, like the exercise keeps my blood flowing. It doesn't let those little spirochete bacteria just kind of hunker down like in my knees or my joints or whatever. Like it keeps it moving, and those herbs kind of flush those things out and don't let them get comfortable. And then if I do get a flare up, then I take the antibiotic and it keeps me sharp, because if I get stagnant, I feel, because the Lyme's really affected like my eyes, my ears, like my head, my brain, like everything. Like I was getting really bad brain fog, couldn't remember things. Like it was even having trouble talking sometimes, like a lot of head pressure. Just it really affected that, but it also affected my joints. And so if I can regulate all of those things, and it sounds like it's a chore, but honestly, this is kind of what Dr. Rawls kind of talks about. You need to modify your life if you want to keep your wellness. Like if you want to live a good life, what you really need to do, and I'm going to go back to, I'm done with that. Well, that's kind of weird. How do I go back to that?
It's like looking in a mirror, like from a mirror.
I know.
There we go. It's like,
all right, there we go. Okay, thanks, Brian. But anyway, so what Dr. Rawls basically just talks about is like, you need to modify your lifestyle. And it's one of those things like the guy that has the heart attack, like you don't really have a choice. Like if you don't modify your lifestyle, like your life's, you might die. Well, you might not die from Lyme disease, but you will not thrive and live. That's for darn sure. And so I've made some changes specifically in the last year. Like, I've gained 30 pounds of muscle, like just literally 30 pounds of muscle, and just weight in general. And it's because I've changed a lot of things about the way I lived. And I think if I would have been doing stuff like this prior, I might not have maybe my immune system would have been better just to fight this thing off in the first place. So, not everybody that gets bit by ticks is the good thing is if your immune system and if your body can kick it, then you're not going to get affected. And maybe, Jay, you got bit and you're having a reaction, but maybe that's all it'll be, hopefully, and hopefully that's where it stops for you, but you never know. Maybe it's not. And that's where, why, in my opinion, for whatever it's worth, why not go get a doctor that'll get you on doxycycline right now and then take the blood test still in 8 more days. And by then, hopefully the blood test comes up negative and you took some doxycycline and you're no worse for it. You know what I mean? And that's what Dr. Rawls kind of says is like, you start off the acute phase and you had an acute reaction with antibiotic. But then that's when that other Restore kit came in, and like it helps just continually get that cleaned out and keep your body a little bit cleaner.
I wish I had called you before. I
told you to call him.
I was just kind of, I don't remember hearing that ever, but no, I mean it. You know what I mean? I no excuse. It's just you just go along thinking like, oh, it'll never happen to me, and you're like, and then it's and then it happens, right? And then, like I said, a few days later, I get these bumps. But the thing that kind of put me at ease was the neighbor, the doctor, even the nurse. She was like, she talked about having seed ticks on her. That was taking a walk around where she works. She went through a nest, but they're all saying, it's common for people to get those bumps, so nobody seems alarmed, and I can't say that I've had any other kind of side effect from this, except the psychological side of things. Cause it's now, I mean, I'm truly freaked out about turkey season because you sit at the base of a tree. Like that's what you do.
Well, it doesn't matter, right? Like you could be mowing your lawn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Like I understand like what you're saying, like being in the woods and you're walking through that tall grass and things like that, and like that's when you're more likely to. But I mean, you can get it as easy as walking out in your backyard.
Well, I told you. Remember, I went to the back of my fence line. Which it's not like I'm walking through grass, and I come back and I'm like, oh, I got a tick on me. I'm like, what is going on? And I remember my neighbor too. And he's an older dude. He's retired, and he goes, and he's like, you always walk around on those slides? Because we usually wear slides out here, no socks. And he's like, do you notice how you never see me in those? I was like, point taken. He was just he's like, I don't walk around like that, dude. He's like, you're nuts,
sure.
But and that's the thing. I've been walking around like that so long out here. Not that I was doing that when I was hanging cameras, but I mean, it was, now it really gets you thinking about just your everyday attire. Again, kind of to what Aaron's talking about, but on the side of, it's a life change.
Sure.
But now you have to think about your clothes.
The preventive aspect.
Yeah, because you're also going to spray not permethrin, but you're going to spray yourself with other tick stuff.
Sure.
So that way, your skin is, protected. But I mean, you got to really take it seriously because, I mean, I really hope there's nothing going on. I hope it's just a little reaction to like the new world out here, and maybe that's a part of it too, right? Maybe Brian, maybe me and you have been bit by ticks, during our hunting excursions, and we didn't have a reaction.
Yeah,
and we did have the reaction. But down here, your body's probably not acclimated. I mean, northerner coming down to the south, things are a little different here. I don't know if that's part of it, but again, just don't be naive and don't be arrogant. These things are everywhere. And I know you can have a good time. You don't gotta be scared. If you take the time to, be preventative and, be responsible and strip down in your garage before you go in your house. And like, you know what? That brings me to another thing. Like Brian, when he hunts, he has a crate that he just dumps all his clothes into.
Sure.
Like, he puts it on, I mean, not that nothing can get inside, but at least from that standpoint, it gets, whatever tick is going to be in there is probably going to die by the next time he goes hunting.
Yeah. I mean, I typically get dressed at my truck before I go into the woods, and then,
yeah,
change again at the truck coming out of the woods. And, part of that routine was, going back to, the whole scent control and things like that. I didn't want to get in my stinky truck, and, obviously I'm a smoker, and, I didn't want that getting on my clothes. So I would change and keep my clothes in that bin. But the second part to that is that tick aspect, like you said, and, typically, I'm basically getting down to my boxers and a t-shirt on the side of the road or parking lot. So, and 9 times out of 10, you're going to find those things either right on your arms or right on your legs. So I do a quick scan as I'm changing, and throwing my clothes into the bin. But you're right. Like, I've never thought about it from that aspect that more than likely, if there is one of my clothes, give it, I'm going back out the next morning, more than likely that thing's, dead, hopefully. But
yeah, and I want to say they're like dryer sheet looking things I think you can put into a crate with clothes, and it's supposed to be able to kill ticks. There's some preventative things for crates, with your clothes. So that way, if you are pulling like what if you're doing a morning hunt and an evening hunt? I don't know how fast it would kill them, but at least it would definitely make their life a living hell in that crate.
Well, and that's where permethrin comes into play, right? If you got your clothes treated properly, it typically lasts 5 washes or whatever it is. And, if you're doing that right, then, theoretically, everything should be extinct by the time you go back out in the afternoon.
Yeah. There's even some clothing companies that infuse it into their clothes. I mean, not that you wouldn't have to reapply, but it's infused. So right off the bat, you can go out in the woods and you've got protection.
Yeah. I would still spray the clothes down with permethrin just to be safe. But yeah, I know there's like some insect repellent clothing where they impregnate the thread and stuff with certain things. But yeah, I just wanted to throw out there. I threw in the chat, and I got it to go in the show notes as well, that the Vital Plan vitamins that Aaron mentioned that he's taken. So if somebody is kind of having similar flare-ups like Aaron is, like, let whoever know about this stuff. The link's right in there. It goes straight to the store there. We're not associated with them or anything of that nature, but could possibly help somebody out for sure.
So Aaron, you're saying I should buy that stuff?
You should. Like, absolutely. Like, even if it's just for 1 month, I would get on a cycle of it.
I'm like totally freaked out.
It's it'll give you, if anything, psychological ease until your doctor gets on board, unless you find a doctor that'll get you on board quicker with some antibiotics. But
I think
it makes total sense to do that.
I'm gonna call the doctor's office tomorrow and be like, I want you to put me on something like right now. Yeah, I'm not waiting for a blood test. Because everyone's like, just wait for the blood test. I mean, now you're. Yeah, I didn't know.
It's a Friday tomorrow. That's the other problem.
I know.
Like, you get do it early.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like Aaron said, like, taking some antibiotics isn't going to hurt you.
It doesn't do. It's not going to do anything to you. Like,
I just don't know why
antibiotics like every other week. It seems like.
I just don't know why they're so. Like, what he gave me? Actually, he gave me like this topical steroid cream for my ankles. For the bumps.
That's not going to do jack against what is going on inside your body. If something is, it is important to note though, like, not every tick carries these diseases either. So, like, even if you get bit by a tick, there's still a great chance you're not getting anything.
Do you know what that number is?
What is it?
That number is 10%
that you get
from Lyme disease.
Okay. From Lyme.
From Lyme, it's
so 10%. Like 90%, you're not going to have it. But like from Lyme, but you could have one of the other 4.
Opposite.
Oh, 90% you will get.
90% of ticks, of deer ticks, carry Lyme disease.
Oh,
that's just in Tennessee, though, right?
No, that's the Northeast everywhere. Like
Really?
it's prevalent enough
crap.
where 90% of the deer
I didn't
ticks
realize it was
carry.
that high.
So
Okay.
you have a 10% chance not to get it.
Oh, geez.
Like, so
you
that's
gotta get on antibiotics, dude.
Yeah.
If you've had how many bites, you've got to get on antibiotics because statistically speaking,
I know
you have like a 2% chance of not having it, right? Like if you got bit 4 times or whatever you said.
Yeah. 1, 2.
So wait.
Yeah, it had to be like 4 or 5 times.
Then you
so
have,
I
like,
think I'm out.
Like
I'm 0.
You've got to get on antibiotics.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, again, just not being, I don't want to say naive to it, right? Like at this part, but you're just trusting like the system to do something for you, and
right?
It doesn't seem like it's happening
for me, dude. Like they didn't. The doctors literally didn't know what to do after the first month. They're like, luckily they did put me on antibiotics to get it acutely, like to take the edge off. And if they didn't do that, it would have been really bad. But after the PICC line was done, like no one knew. They're like, just. We don't know. Yeah. Like literally, the doctors looking at me like, we have no idea.
They're like, here's some orange juice.
Yeah,
so I gotta
take it in your own hands.
I gotta debunk what Jay's saying. So I'm pulling up a few things.
I read it.
This is Hartford Healthcare in Connecticut. They said in 2019, testing 3,517 black-legged deer ticks, 35.7% carried Lyme disease.
Dude, I swear I read that. Like, and it was looked like a good publication. I can't
John Hopkins. John Hopkins says, where did it go? Lyme disease.
Dude, do you know the internet's forever, right?
Ticks prefer to live in wooded areas, low-growing grasslands, and yards. Not all ticks carry the Lyme disease bacteria. Depending on the location, anywhere from less than 1% to more than 50% of the deer ticks are infected with it.
When was that thing from you're talking about?
This is on John Hopkins Medicine.
Yeah, but from what date?
This is printed. Where'd it go?
Did you say 2019?
I swear,
the one before was 2019. This, I think, is 2020. But it seems like it's dependent on the area, right? Yeah. Another NPR. I don't trust them, so I'm not going to read that.
Yeah, there's a little garbage on here.
So here you go. This is Minnesota Department of Health says. On average, about 1 in 3 adult black-legged ticks and 1 in 5 black-legged tick nymphs are infected with Lyme disease. So that's 33%.
I found your Hartford one.
Yeah, you got bit 4 times, Jay. That statistically is more likely.
Either way, sorry for the bad info, guys. I swear I read that, but
I wasn't trying to prove you wrong. I was just like,
whatever. Internet's forever. Thanks. No one's gonna believe me ever again.
It just sounded like too much, but like that one study said, like it could be over 50% in certain areas. So I mean, in Tennessee, and looking at those maps that I pulled up earlier, like if you're up in like Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, like I'm sorry, you guys
don't go outside. Don't go outside.
Pennsylvania, like Virginia, like all that, like stay in your homes.
Yeah, like just put like Bubble Boy, just put it on one of those suits. And go out.
Right. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. You got to be preventive. You got to be cautious and just be aware of what's going on and what can potentially harm you. It's such a small little thing can really do some damage. Obviously Aaron knows that firsthand, man, and thankfully you're on the up and up. I know when we first talked to you and you first got it, and I mean, you, like you said, you were in a pretty bad spot, dude, and it seemed like you were kind of miserable. No offense, but
oh dude, I was freaking miserable.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't remember. Like my wife was showing me a picture like yesterday of 2 years ago when like our 3-year-old was. She's like, I know you don't remember this, but like this is a pretty cool day. I was like, I have no idea what you're even talking about. Like I don't remember anything about it, and that's unfortunate. Like it literally took a good year of my life of just quality, and luckily in the last year, like I said, I'm rebounding good, and I hope in the next year it's even better and just keeps getting better. But for that year, man, it sucks, and a lot of people have it longer than that because maybe they don't have the right resources or the right support or the right knowledge, or just bodies react differently or something, you know.
Sure. Yeah, or it's like, I mean, it can kill you too.
Oh yeah,
I mean, like, you know, if it goes, you know, unchecked and hits the heart, hits the brain.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And I mean, I still have problems with, like I said, like with my brain fog and things like that, but like, you know, I'm doing what I can to like mitigate as much as I can, and you know, I live with it, just the feeling of it on a daily basis, and it's messed up my equilibrium and things like that a little bit, but I'm doing better than I was a year ago. So you know,
thank God,
you,
man.
Lyme. Like screw you.
Aaron's over here giving you the middle finger, Lyme disease. Take that. No, it's good. It seems like you found something that's helping balance you out and continually to, you know, help you live a normal life, dude, which is great, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to act like you got cancer, bro, but you know, it's
I mean,
it is a serious thing,
and
it mess with you quite a bit, and seems like it's the regiment you're on with that vital plan and the antibiotics has definitely made dramatic strides for you, for sure.
And I know like Jeff Little, and I talked with him about it, like his doctors will get him on like cycles of antibiotics, you know what I mean? Like he'll get on like 3 different antibiotics at once to fight, like if they're resistant to one, then another one will kind of like nail them or whatever, and he'll go for like a month or 2 sometimes with like just 3 different antibiotics at once to keep him regulated. And so everybody's different, you know what I mean? So every single person who encounters this is different. So like right now I'm on something called ceftriaxone, and that's a good one for me. It doesn't mess with my stomach at all. Like it, you know, because too long of antibiotic use can hurt you over time, but like when used in moderation, it's just like anything. It's not gonna.
Sure.
You know, if doctors are prescribing it to you like on that regular basis, like there's a rift, I guess, in practitioners. Just for you guys' information too, like some practitioners will not prescribe, and a lot of them won't prescribe long-term antibiotics because it can hurt you, and if people abuse it or anything like that. And so they're very hesitant to like take that step to do that. And so Jay, you might be running into one of those types of doctors, and a lot of times they call them Lyme literate doctors. They will absolutely prescribe you the antibiotics because they're trained in specifically Lyme disease. And so like you might have to find a doctor that's they're called Lyme literate, and they'll take care of you, versus the guy who just says, oh, just rub some ointment on it. Like that's not how you treat this. That's not it. So like you said, cancer, Brian, it's literally the equivalent. I mean, not literally the equivalent, but like it's the equivalent of saying, hey, just take some Zyrtec for your lymphoma. Like, it's like, what? Like, that's not.
Yeah.
It's not
funny, but I know.
No, that's how ridiculous it sounds, though. When a doctor is blowing, just blowing smoke to Jay, like, oh yeah, like just use some ointment. Like, if it was you, like, that's when I ask the doctors this all the time that were treating me, like, if it was you, what would you do right now?
Yeah.
And like, what would you do if you had this? And that's like, that kind of gets to the core of it. And if they still kind of give you crap, just move on. Like, they work for you. That's what you have to learn with doctors, lawyers, like accountants, tax professionals, anybody. Like, if they don't treat you the way you need to be treated, then move on. Like, that's bull crap.
I'm actually
life lessons from Uncle Stiger.
I'm going to give an ultimatum tomorrow and see what they say.
Yeah. No, you have to.
Either you give me antibiotics or I'm coming to your office.
It's your life.
Yeah,
man.
I don't know if I'll say that, but
It's your life. It's your life. Like, and I'm telling you, I got a year of mine taken away.
Yeah.
So don't let it happen to you. Like you've got to advocate for yourself, because you can't assume doctors, nurses, your next door neighbors, whoever will.
Amen to that. Well, gentlemen, I think this has been pretty damn informative. We'll give Aaron some final thoughts here, and then we'll move up to Jay, and then I'll close us out.
All right. Well, it's good being here again, you guys. And you know, I don't get out fishing as much as I used to, but you know, it's still in my heart.
But when I do, I just smash them.
Oh, yeah. Right. When I do, I get skunked.
Well, you've been fishing that Fishers of Men series over in Ohio, right?
Yep, I've been doing that. It's just at Kaiser Lake. It's just a lake that's half hour or 40 minutes from me, and there's just a group of 10 or 11 guys that go out and do it. I saw Tyler Daniels in the chat say something. He kind of runs that. Cool. And he's a great dude. I've met some good guys doing that, but that's all I can afford to do. It's not because you know, I'm not healthy enough. Plenty healthy enough right now. It's just I have kids and responsibilities that supersede me going and traveling across Ohio or the nation and doing stuff, which is totally fine. Like I'm loving what I'm doing with my kids, and we're actually going camping this weekend.
Nice.
Taking them to Alum Creek and taking them out on the canoe, and then we're going to Dave and Buster's, and they don't know yet. So I'm gonna
all 20 of them.
And all 20. We're taking the school bus. So
we're taking. That's why I work at the school, so I get a school bus.
Yeah, I get the discounted rate. Yeah,
there you go. I get to lease it out.
I got my CDL. But no, it's good. And, you know, to that point, like, you know, we're going to be careful. We're going to spray ourselves down this weekend. But, you know, I remember when I first got Lyme, I was like, I'm never kayak fishing again. Like, I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm going to stop this. I can't be going outdoors. And I remember that psychological effect, like you were talking about, Jay. And then I just was like, okay, as long as I take precautions, as long as I do this the right way, I can still enjoy an outdoor lifestyle. And so it's taken a little bit, but you know, I'm back doing what I love to do again because of, you know, having talks with people who do know what they're talking about and researching and getting myself taken care of how I need to get taken care of. And so, don't let anything take away your love for the outdoors, even Lyme disease, even wherever you're at. Like I listen to some podcasts about like hunting and stuff too. Like even like apex predators, if you're in grizzly country, like you have just as much of a right to be outside as any other living thing on this earth. So don't feel like you need to be hesitant of it. Just take the right precautions. Now you know to check and do this, that, or the other, and keep doing what you love to do.
Amen. Mr. Randall.
Ditto.
Bumpy legs.
Yeah, no, I mean, we all talked about it. Just, you know, take it seriously, I guess. You know, it's like you may have been dodging bullets, you know, for as long as you can remember. But, I mean, it happens, you know, so it's prevalent. You know, it's more, you know, you have more of a chance of getting it than not. So why play with that?
Well, and the biggest thing I want to add to that is just get in the routine of checking yourself every time you come home, you know, from the woods, mowing the lawn, you know, whatever it may be before you get in the shower. You know, most of us get in the shower after, you know, trekking through the woods or mowing the lawn, whatever. Just spin around in front of the mirror, as weird as it sounds, and just double check your body, make sure you don't have anything crawling around and, you know, stuff like that, man. Cause that's, one little bite, man, can, obviously make you lose a year of your life struggling, you know, like Aaron had talked about, you know, so, and, you know, I'd hate to see anybody go through that. I mean, we've seen Aaron go through it, and I'm glad you're back on the up and up, dude. And I don't wish that upon anybody. So
nice. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, gals, I'll drop those links in the chat, all that stuff we had talked about, the vital plan, the tick video for spraying down permethrin, and all that good stuff that we talked about during the show. So go check that stuff out. Be safe, be careful, just do your due diligence, and make sure you're not going to deal with anything long term. And like Aaron said, you find a bite, go to a doctor, get on something right away, and make sure you're not, waiting, because the longer you wait, the worse it's going to be.
And I will say this too, as a final note, that there's this, they talk about the bullseye. Not everybody gets that.
I didn't get that.
So that's important. I don't know how we didn't talk about that. So yeah, don't trust like, oh, I got the bullseye, I should be good. It could be anything, or it could be nothing, right? I mean, as far as a skin lesion or mark or whatever. Get it checked. It's all you can do, especially if you don't know how long that tick's been on you, because you can within depending on the situation, but standard say 24 to 36 hours.
Sure.
You could contact it. Sounds like Aaron's situation was a lot sooner, but
your blood work, even Jay, when it comes back, it might come up negative and you can still have it. So like even your blood work, that's why them putting all the stock in the blood work, that's not even
it's 2 to 4 weeks for the antibodies to show up in your blood.
Yeah, and not everybody even has antibody. Like depending on your immune system, you might not even create that many antibodies to get detected. So that's a moot point, according to a lot of the doctors that I had talked to anyway. And so they were all completely convinced, even though I had just trace antibodies in my blood, like trace antibodies by the time they actually got my blood work back a couple weeks after I was on an antibiotic. They're like, you absolutely, there's no doubt about it. You have this. You didn't have the bullseye. Your blood work came back essentially negative.
Yeah.
You still have Lyme disease.
Sure.
So you know what I mean? And that's, yeah. So don't go by just what the book says.
Yeah. WebMD isn't going to be able to diagnose you this time.
No. No. All right, guys, gals, we'll see you next week. We're here every Thursday night, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 5 o'clock out on the West Coast. Till next time, tight lines, smooth paddling. Peace. Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode here on Paddle and Fin. Be sure to drop a 5-star rating, a thumbs up, or smash that subscribe button on any platform you're listening in on. Be sure to check us out on Waypoint TV, waypointtv.com. Make sure you sign up for the Fantasy Kayak Fishing League at paddleandfin.com/fantasy. You could support this show through Patreon, patreon.com/paddleandfin. Don't forget to check out the website, paddleandfin.com. Catch us on YouTube. If you got a question, comment, or want to see a future guest on the show, be sure to email us at paddleandfin@gmail.com. Shout out to our show supporters, Yak Gadget. You can check out all the fine kayak accessories at yakgadget.com. Pelican Professional. For all your cases, coolers, and lighting needs, go to pelican.com. Rocktown Adventures, your Midwest premier paddle sports destination. Go to rocktownadventures.com. Eastport Marina, the beautiful destination on Dale Hollow Lake. If you're looking for lodging, kayaks, kayak accessories, or anything fishing related on the beautiful Dale Hollow Lake, go to eastport.info. And Jigmasters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and fill your tackle boxes today.